34,197 miles, 39 states, 1 year, 1 teardrop, and just me. My name is Eric, and I quit my job to travel around the country for 1 year in a teardrop trailer. From Florida to California to Washington to the Canadian Rockies to Maine and back to Florida. It's always been my dream to see the entire United States, and I'm doing it. I'm escaping normal life. I went from Florida to Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, California, Oregon, Washington, Canadian Rockies, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Upper Michigan Peninsula, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and back to Florida. Well, I am back in Florida. I got back just about 2 days ago, and I am at my brother's house, and I'm very excited because next week is Thanksgiving, and that means I get to spend the holidays with my family. And I didn't get to do that last year because I was traveling. I was in Texas last year during the holidays, which was amazing. I was at Big Bend National Park, and that was very cool to spend Christmas in a national park. But this year I actually get to spend time with my family, which I'm super excited about. My brother's dog's running around. So yeah, it kind of feels surreal that I even did a full year on the road. It's, I don't know. It's kind of weird. You know, I didn't even think that I would actually complete a full year, honestly. Like, I remember leaving and thinking, I don't think I'll even complete a year. I don't even know. I may get on the road and 4 months in, be just beat up, you know, tired, broke, tired of the weather. I started traveling and the gas prices went up. I didn't know that was going to happen. You know, a lot of things happen on the road that easily could have broke me and turned me back to come back home, but it wasn't. It didn't. Instead, I just wanted to keep going further. You know, a little over a year ago, before I started traveling, I was at a point in my life where I didn't feel like I was going anywhere with my job. I was in a city that I liked, but I didn't really feel like it was home to me. I just didn't feel like my life was really going anywhere, and I had a good opportunity in front of me to travel, which obviously I did, and I kind of always thought that I would kind of travel for a year, get that kind of out of my system, and then want to come back and go right back to an apartment and get a quote-unquote normal job and start living a quote-unquote normal life. And it turns out I actually really love the travel lifestyle. It's something that I see myself doing long-term. I kind of always picture the travel thing kind of like a layover in my life, and that when I got back, that would be like the next chapter. Well, I still feel that way. I still feel like the traveling that I did was a layover, and then I'm in a new chapter in my life, but I'm in a new chapter that's going a completely different path than what I thought. I'm now looking at different travel rigs. I'm looking at traveling for the next couple years of my life. I am looking to get rid of all my stuff in storage, my couch, my TV. I'm looking to sell, you know, everything I have back in Tampa in a storage bin that I thought I would want to come back to. I'm looking at getting rid of all that stuff. You know, I started the YouTube channel because I was hoping to maybe make a couple bucks off of it for gas money. And in order to do that, though, I needed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I remember talking to a friend in the very beginning when I first left. And he said, yeah, I subscribed to your YouTube channel. You now have 28 subscribers. And I started laughing at myself, and I was like, oh my God, 1,000 subscribers? It might as well be 1,000,000. I'm never going to have 1,000 subscribers. I still can't believe that I even got to that point or past that point. So thank you so much to anybody who subscribed. Thank you so much for commenting, sharing other stories. Like, that's been one of my favorite parts about YouTube. Like, I've heard so many stories about people sharing their own travel stories. I've had a lot of people say they get inspired by watching the channel and saying, hey, you know, I would love to travel like that, and you kind of have given me a little more confidence to get out there and do that. One person said that they have a teardrop, but they just don't even use it that much, but they felt more inspired to actually use their teardrop a lot more. And that is just so inspiring to hear. So thank you so much for anybody who's made comments like that and shared your own personal stories. I just can't be thankful enough. So I promise I'll keep sharing mine if you keep sharing yours. You know, a lot of people are always asking me, well, what was your favorite part on the road? I don't know that I can give you a favorite part, honestly. There was so much out there that I just truly loved. That's like asking me my favorite band. But the Canadian Rockies were pretty hard to top. 100% put the Canadian Rockies on your bucket list. It is absolutely amazing. I will forever brag about the Canadian Rockies. So many amazing places around the country that I never even heard about that were as amazing. Highlight Canyon in Montana, never even heard of it. But when I got there, it was gorgeous and I stayed like a week. But another favorite part of mine was really just drive days. Days where I'm commuting from one place in the country to another. Driving allowed me to see more and more terrain. I'd see the landscape change in front of my eyes. You know, I'd see it go from flat to hills to mountains. I would see, you know, the temperature change or the way one state kind of blends into another and how the land just kind of starts to evolve and become something totally different. How each state kind of had their own different feel to it. Driving through all the small towns just dotted across the country. You know, some of these towns you drive through, there's no stoplights, there's no stop signs, there's nothing. They're barely one street. And sometimes I would just sit there and ask myself, like, where do these people get their groceries? Like the nearest grocery store or anything is like an hour back. I mean, I guess that's what you do when you live in those small towns is you drive an hour each week or whatever and get your groceries that way. I mean, some of those things seem really challenging to me. But then again, I guess people would look at my lifestyle living in a teardrop and go, that looks really challenging. But another part that really spoke to me were the small towns that just had so much character to them. You know, I will forever brag about a little small town in Maine called Rangeley. Now, Rangeley is not a town you probably have ever heard of. It's super small. I think it had one stop sign, that was it. The town itself was probably half a mile long, if that. And it wasn't that Rangeley really had anything super special to it, but it had a gorgeous surrounding area with tons of great hikes, amazing waterfalls. You could jump on the Appalachian Trail there if you wanted to. Like, it just felt like there was a lot to do and a lot to offer in the area, and I felt like I could spend a couple weeks and really never get bored of it. I also quickly realized the places that I loved the most were the places that I knew I could sleep at and feel very comfortable at. For example, when I was in Rangeley, I was sleeping at a couple of trailheads that were in the area because I found out real quickly that trailheads are usually quiet, they're usually safe, no one's gonna mess with you. And of course you got a hiking trail right there, so the next day you had something to kind of do in the area. Another part that was really special to me, especially as a solo traveler, is that when I would come across other travelers, other nomads on the road, and I would talk to them a little bit, and I would discuss places they've been, maybe they would give me tips of places I was headed into in the future, and you just have that common ground with somebody, you know, someone who's lived on the road before, and I would often have the conversation with someone and say, you know what, I can't even begin to explain a day like I've had today. You know, the day that I was at Kirkham Hot Springs in Idaho, I remember jumping in the hot springs all day and spending time in the spring river and everything. And then as I was leaving the area, I saw someone parked next to me who also, I think, had a Florida tag on their car. But we were just kind of talking, and I said, you know, I can't begin to explain to someone back home a day like today. Spending time in a natural hot spring with natural spring water and everything around you, it's something that you can show in pictures and show in video, but until you're really there to experience it, it's just really not the same. And it's really hard to put into words what you're out there seeing all the time. You know, I've been in snow, I've been in rain, I've been in super windy conditions, I've had dead batteries on my car, I had things break on my trailer, I've been in unforeseen travel conditions. I've been in things that really just could have broke me, things that could have made me easily say, you know what, why the hell am I doing this? I can go back and sleep in a real bed, be in air conditioning, be in heat, I can be in a climate and controlled environment. Why am I doing this? Why am I going forward like this? And I remember talking to a friend about it a little bit one time. I said, you know, I'm trying to find a place to sleep for the night. You know, I'm looking at sleeping at this parking lot or something. She's like, oh, that kind of sounds a little stressful. You're kind of having to find a new place to sleep every night. And I said, you know, I don't think that it is really stressful. I think it's just a different approach to life. You know, if you live in a house or an apartment or wherever, you have different stresses in your life, right? You might be worried about picking up your kids after school, or maybe, you know, beating traffic when you get off of work, Or maybe you're like, oh, I gotta go to the gym after work, or I gotta go to the grocery store, or when I get home, I got to cook dinner, but I also gotta take care of some bills and all this other stuff. It's just different stresses, different lifestyles. I don't think that it was any more stressful than different life. It was just different stresses. Sitting here right now at my brother's house after being gone for a year and seeing my family again for a year, it doesn't even feel like I left. I thought when I got back to Florida that it would feel like, oh, I've been gone for a year. But it doesn't feel like I ever really left. It feels like this is just what I do now. It feels like I'm here visiting for a little bit, and then I'm just gonna go back to my life, back on the road. It's definitely opened my eyes to kind of like a bigger world. It's made me feel like I'm doing something with my life. It made me feel like I got out of a rut in my life. It made me feel like I got out of a situation in my last job where I just didn't feel like I was progressing, going anywhere. The life I had in Tampa, the life I had before traveling when I was working full time, didn't feel like mine. It felt like I belonged to the company that I worked for. It didn't feel like I had my life at all. It felt like I'd wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, repeat, repeat, repeat. I have felt way more comfortable in the past year than I have in the past 20 years of my life. I am just so grateful for everyone I've met, everything I've seen, and every place I've been. Coming back to Florida after a year of traveling, I thought for sure that I just want to come back to Florida and be like, well, got that out of my system. Let's go back to living back into an apartment and everything. It's really not something I thought I'd ever want to do longer than a year. Florida will always have my soul. I love it. It's where I'm from. I love the beach. I grew up here, but the road really does have my heart now. I just cannot wait to keep escaping normal life. I absolutely cannot stop now.
In life like a church hymn, you are gone.